Hey, good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Wednesday, July 18th, 2018. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. It's good to be back in the market here after being out of the country with the family here. Looking at the markets, looking at the ES especially, we are still sitting here at highs, holding above that 27.9175 level, but we are digging right into that major area of resistance here, that LVN at about 28.20, 28.25. That zone right there is going to be very, very significant here as price continues to dig into that zone, but really hasn't been able to push beyond it significantly, at least not yet. Now, as we continue to look at this, obviously, one thing we want to continue to watch for is, do we continue to see any type of resistance in this zone, or do we start to push through it? Again, as I mentioned before my break here, if we can push through that 2800, 2825 zone, we start to have clear air into about 2900, but the market really hasn't been able to find acceptance above that zone since the last week of January. Every time it's dropped back off that area to some degree. We continue to trend higher in this upward sloping channel type of pattern. And again, if there's any failure to get above this LVN, we could see at least a little bit of a pullback back toward 2730, maybe all the way back to 2700. But again, continue to watch this area here, because if there are signs of rejection or weakness, that could lead to a return back toward recent lows, and again, that could present another buying opportunity for an attempt to return this thing back toward high. So again, we'll continue to watch this area here for signs of rejection in that major LVN. Now, if we take a look at the NQ right here, you'll notice that the NQ is sitting on highs. Strong movement here. We had a very, very narrow range right here that broke to the upside, and since then those waves were bought back to new highs again, sitting up here above the 72.75s, and that's kind of the pivot low to watch here. Any failure to hold that level could open up a return to recent lows back towards 69.65. That could present another buying opportunity back up. So right now this thing has been bullish, but any failure to hold that 72.75 could open up a return back towards 69.65. Taking a look at crude oil, perhaps the biggest mover while I was gone, the plane trade here happened on this day right there. Big time move. I was mentioning before my trip that this market was coiling up for a significant move to come. I mentioned that if it broke to the downside, we were likely going to see a return back towards 69s. We did that and then some, and now trading 66.71 right now, last print. So a significant sell-off we've seen. We saw a failed new high right here that led to another round of weakness, and again we continue to see a push lower. So this has been a significant break from that narrow range that we were talking about just last week. Significant weakness, and we may not see this thing stop until we hit 64s now. We may come all the way back and take out recent lows. So again, any pullback could be a selling opportunity until we find support, and that may not be until 64. So crude oil continues to be quite weak right now. Pullbacks could continue to be selling opportunities. Taking a look at the YM right here, you'll notice the YM has been strong as well, kind of in the in-between point between the ES and the NQ, but for the most part this one still has not returned back toward 25.327. That's the FOMC key level. After seeing rejection here, we have bounced back up, and we've mentioned that we could come back and test that zone. The YM has continued to quietly push higher. Any pullback into, say, 24.800, that could be a buying opportunity to push this thing into that 25.327. And lastly, looking at this Bitcoin chart here, what you'll notice is we got a big time push through 6,700. That's what we were talking about just before my break here. We mentioned the inverted head and shoulder type of pattern that was developing. We mentioned that if price can push through 6,700, it could open up a big wave of strength, likely back toward 8,500, or at least a fill of the gap. It appears we've gotten the fill of the gap here today, and now what we'll be looking for, any pullback here could be a sign to buy this thing back up. So again, any pullback towards 6,700 could be a buying opportunity for a continuation toward 8,500. I wouldn't really overshoot the target given that this market has been mostly weak, so any short-term bounce here, you'll want to take those profits. So again, this market got the upside break through 6,700. Any pullback into or toward that zone could be a buying opportunity for a continuation toward 8,500. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the new week of trading. If you're in the trading room, we'll be back at it here in the next hour and again this afternoon. Looking forward to seeing you again. All right, everyone, take care, trade well. I'll see you soon.